Okay, I call this January 14th, 2013 Special Call City Council meeting of the City Council of Brookhaven, Brookhaven White House to order. Invocation. Have any volunteers for an invocation? I'll do the invocation. All bow heads. Heavenly Father, we ask that you please bless these proceedings and guide us in the way you see fit. And your name we pray, amen. Roll call, Ms. Clerk. Madam Clerk.
Yes, Councilmember Rebecca Chase Williams.
Here.
Jim Meyer.
Here.
District 2, Bates Madison. District 3.
Here.
And Joe Gilbia, District 4.
Here.
Thank you. Perfect. All stand for pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll try to keep this short. I've got no remarks. Minutes. I have a copy of the minutes. We've all reviewed the minutes. There are no.
There's not any this one.
Okay. All right. Then there's no. We're doing that. Any public comment? Anybody from the public want to make any comments? Who's first, Madam Clerk, in your list of?
Well, I just have it in order.
All right. Okay.
The top gun. Some of those are used. It's the ordinance.
What's the first one you see? Oh, you switched them up, right?
Yeah.
What you said, say you might get
Okay. Dennis Williams.
Squeeze in, excuse me. Good evening. It's Dennis Williams, and use the protocol, name and address is on here. I'd like to note something in the council, and I'm here in reference to the Section 1 of the business ordinance. I mentioned on there I'm opposed to it, but theoretically I'm not opposed to it, but at the same time I'm stating my position, and I'm the Chief Financial Officer and Executive Vice President for Pink Pony, which operates under Trop Inc. Myself and Mr. Glardy, we opened that business 22 years ago. And as every business opens up, it's a battle to build business, build goodwill, bring on good staff, and get good people there. Mr. Glardy would be here to speak, but I'm sorry to say he passed away about a month ago. So it's been rather trying for the entire company. I do want to represent, the attorneys are here today to speak as far as the law, but I'd like to address the council as far as the human element here. I've got people that work there 15, 18 years, and 20 years, and they've relied on Pink Pony all these years. A perfect example is Friday night. Last evening, my bartender, his name is Tom, he's been with me 18 years, came in very happy, high spirits, because his teenage daughter, he has teenage twin girls at 15 years old, won their basketball tournament. And as a proud father, he was gleaming about it and bragging about it to his coworkers and even to me, was standing at the bar. Just what I want to illustrate is when Tom started working for us, he didn't have any children, he had 2 kids. And in the time he's bought a home there, he's relied on his income from the Pink Pony over the last 18 years to put his kids through school and buy a home, make his home mortgage payments. Like Tom, there's a lot of fathers that work there in the form of security and in the form of, bar backs and bartenders. And likewise, there's a lot of mothers there, so many of them single. And they rely on Pink Pony and the format it operates now, as they have the last 20 plus years, to make a living there and, a livelihood that pays their bills and sends their kids to school. And as Tom, unaware of the current conditions, as most employees there, they look forward to putting their kids through higher education. But my point is, by taking away our non-conforming status and not keeping us in the format that we've agreed to over these years with DeKalb County, it's going to take a lot of fathers and mothers food, but they're going to take money out of their pockets. Their incomes will be dramatically affected to the point that they you know, a lot of them probably lose their homes, foreclose their homes, is what's going on now. And you'll put over probably 280, 300 people out of work. Because competitively with the city of Atlanta and surrounding clubs, the format that you introduce is not competitive. It's somewhat unfair to the people that work there all these years. And what I'm asking is maybe a little more transparency and a clear understanding of what your ordinance will affect people's lives. It will affect a lot of people's lives. As a CFO, chief officer right now, the buck starts here and stops here with me at the pink pony. I want to promise the council, as we have the last 20 plus years in DeKalb County, that we run a tight ship. I can assure you, and I pledge, I will continue operating the club that way, and we'll install the same policies that keep our doors open, that we haven't had vice violations over the last 22 years with DeKalb, no underage drinking, no issues with the Department of Revenue, no prostitution arrests, no shootings in our parking lots. They built, Salvation Army built a church next door to us all these years. They put an additional 300 apartments right across the street from us. So as far as property values and all the blight that seems to be introduced to this council here, as I say, the boogeyman is not at the door of Brookhaven. What you do to legislate an ordinance to keep other clubs from coming into the city is granted, you can do that. But please consider our agreement, and please consider some form of an agreement with us that would allow us to continue to operate, so people like Tom and other fathers and mothers in the club can come in feeling good about their daughters winning a basketball game and not be worried about losing their home or not making their car payments or not being able to provide their kids a future or a higher standard of education. So that's what I've asked you. So again, please consider those factors. Please take my pledge seriously as far as this operating, running a clean place, and we've always worked in harmony with the DeKalb PD, Department of Revenue. So, and I want to continue so. That's what I pledge to the city of Brookhaven, its future police department, public safety, and to the council and its members. We want to be a good business, a good business, corporate citizen with the city.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
But you're right. You're right. By the way, the comments are 3 minutes. I've got a timer here, so we'll just make sure everybody is aware of that. If I cut you off, please don't get upset with me. Next, please.
Aubrey Williams, or
Belize,
I'm sorry.
Aubrey Belize, 2910 Kentucky Road. Mayor, members of the council, at this time I tender exhibit A, B, C, D, E for the record, and there's a summary of what they are. I'm just going to briefly tell you. Exhibit A has to do with the Fulton County Police study of calls, which shows there are less calls and less problems with adult entertainment than there are with normal bars. Or Exhibit B has to do with is a summary of that. Exhibit C has to do with the report by Dr. Daniel Lynch, which basically refutes and disputes everything that my colleague Scott submitted. It's about several hundred pages. We can get more, but we're not invalid experts at this point. D is something we just recently had. It's a crime mapping in the area around Brookhaven. You will see that there's less crime during the week from January 8, 2013 to January 14th. At the Pink Pony was none, but you'll see what the area of the crime was. The next exhibit, E, is just simply a later date of January 14th of that time. And all that I'm tendering at this time, A through E. Again, we think that we can reason together on this. We've suggested several things. We think we have an agreement that is binding upon the city. We would like to continue to operate the way we've always operated, and that is legally and as good citizens and good neighbors in this area. There are several ways to do that. You can accept that the agreement is binding upon Brookhaven, or you could allow us to seek a declaratory judgment, or you could seek a declaratory judgment in the court of DeKalb without damages at this point. We don't want to have a bloodbath, but if you pass the ordinance you're going to pass,
without some sort of recognition of our non-conforming status, we're going to be in court very, very quickly. If we have to go to court, we look to the Declaratory Judgment Act, seeking the rights of the parties and hoping we can reach an agreement very quickly. I can't overemphasize that the people that are impacted we don't have horns. We go to church, we raise kids, we want the best for our family. I have 3 children, 2 of them grown, 1 2.5, and the court gave me 3 more to raise as legal guardians. They come in all colors and all sizes. We're decent people. We're the backbone of this community. We've been here longer than many others have been here, and you chose us to be here. And we were glad you chose us. We'd like you to choose to keep us. We really would. Again, anything we can do to work with you regarding this, we will do it. We don't want to litigate unless we have to. Thank you very much. I'll be happy to answer any questions, and I would tender those as well.
Thank you, Mr. All right. Next.
Alan Degner.
Thank you. I'm Alan Degner. I have been hired to be lead counsel in the litigation for Pink Pony against Brookhaven, if there is. I also want to simply say that this, as you know about Pink Pony, is in an isolated area off of Main Street, surrounded by commercial buildings and industrial uses. The perfect location for a club. It helps you to have at least one club in your area to defeat what's called a rent-and challenge. Dennis has talked to you about how cruel it is to ruin so many lives putting a club out of business. Your ordinance does that, absent some agreement to not apply it to us. But I mostly want to say this. I spent the 1990s keeping adult clubs open in DeKalb County. I won a case in 1992 called Oasis versus DeKalb County that struck their first attempt to put us out of business. 3 times more they tried to put us out of business and failed. And in 11 years of litigation, they never stopped us from dancing one day. We finally settled with them in 2001, paid them a large licensing fee, dismissed the other cases that were still pending, and they extended that settlement agreement. In 2007, I have, in 2005, I was lead counsel in the Sandy Springs litigation situation, much like yours. We were, as soon as Sandy Springs came into life, they passed a law to ban 3 adult clubs that had descended there from Fulton County government. I filed for a Coronet Club, a lawsuit in Fulton Superior. Another case was filed by another lawyer in U.S. District Court for the other 2 clubs. We entered a consent injunction with Sandy Springs so that we could litigate if we couldn't settle it. Over 7 years have gone by. They still haven't stopped us from dancing one day. And luckily for Sandy Springs, they're not stuck with many millions of dollars. In December, I sued Doraville for Oasis. We're also challenging the annexation itself, and I believe we have a good chance of winning. We're hoping to get a consent injunction or a settlement with them. Lastly, Scott Burkhold and I have had 4 litigations in Georgia. In all of those cases, which happened in Floyd County, Coweta, Sandy Springs, and Bartow County, my clients will all stay open and remained open every day of the time. 3 of those cases are over, and we have all of the uses we wanted. The Sandy Springs case remains ongoing. But I just want you to know that Dennis and Aubrey want you to be good citizens, but I think you should be cautious, because I know Scott and Bill Riley in the past have favored strong action against existing clubs. And we're an existing club, not a new one, so I ask you to grandfather us. Thank you.
And we have Barry Hazen.
Not to change this topic conversation. My name is Barry Hazen. I live in the Bates District, District 3, on Matthew Street. And and we have a problem in our neighborhood, and that is, some of you may have seen billboards for a reality TV show called Big Rich Atlanta, or Big Rich Georgia. It is being filmed in a house directly across the street from my street, down the block from one of my neighbors here. It results in filming going on all hours of the day and night, 8, 10, 12, 15 cars, including sound trucks and lighting stands and electrical wires go across the street. It plugs up the street. We can't get mail delivered, trash picked up, recycling picked up, other deliveries down the street. It's a danger if an emergency vehicle has to go down that street. I've dealt with DeKalb County about this because I think it's a violation of the code section that says you cannot have a business in a residential neighborhood without certain limitations. They are ignoring those limitations, and DeKalb County seems to feel like it's not a problem for them now that Brookhaven is a city. Zoning seems to be unaware of the intergovernmental agreement. When the police come out, they have no familiarity with the DeKalb County Code. They have no idea what we're talking about. If it doesn't involve a traffic violation, they pick up and they leave. And so I think that I'd like certainly for the city council to begin dealing with this issue. We already have the first for sale sign up on our street. People have said they're going to leave. First sign went up, and there's going to be another one to follow according to one of my neighbors. It's ruining the street. It's a violation of the existing code, I believe, and I think Brookhaven City Council needs to do something about it. And I'd just love for you to tell me what I need to help move the process along.
You know, we have we're open for business for codes and for permits and licenses and such on Friday. I think we have a representative from community development here. Kevin McCombie in the back there. He's got a code enforcement officer. He's been in City Hall. I saw him today. So if you'd like to talk to Kevin about your situation right now or after the meeting, or take him outside, we can get right on that.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, and then we have Erica Nudis on the sign ordinance.
Erica.
Erica?
Oh, hi, sorry.
You're up, please.
Sign ordinance. I like time. Where's the bell? I looked over the sign ordinances. I got a copy that was like 21 pages long, and I'm still going through it. But I gotta say, this really needs a lot of work. There's no mention of, and I've been in the sign business since 1991, and I own my own company since '97. There's nothing about temporary signs in there. There's nothing about billboards. It doesn't mention parapet walls, which a huge case of Atlanta versus Marriott came up and can be avoided. I've provided signs and gotten permits all over the southeast, and I've seen small little hick towns have better ordinances than this. It's not good. I don't think it needs to be adopted the way it is. It needs a lot more work. And I wrote some things down, but I don't know how I should present those. We need more than 3 minutes.
Sure, we understand that. We understand a lot of our code is going to need updating. We'll allow people like you to help us. We'll have a committee, and I hope your committee will be on the committee.
Absolutely.
All right.
Love to.
Well, we're aware of that. We're going to address it, and we're going to address it over the next month.
That sounds fabulous.
Mayor and Council, if I may, I'm Scott Hastings, attorney with Bill Riley's office. The next, at the 7 o'clock meeting, there's going to be a hearing on the sign ordinance, and for input to be provided to the council for consideration and adopt that ordinance, that input needs to come within that public hearing itself, not within the public content of exhibits.
Thank you.
So you will have time to speak more next week?
In 20 minutes?
Yeah, in 20 minutes.
Let me go take notes.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any more?
No more.
That's it? All right. Consent agenda, I don't believe we have one. Announcements, anybody have any announcements? Jim, Joe, regular debates? No? Reports and presentations, I guess you're gonna be doing, Bill Riley, current status of the agreement with DeKalb County.
Yes, sort of. Bill Riley asked if I could have Mrs. Garrett provide an update.
Okay.
I'm happy to do so. If Mayor and Council will recall, at your last meeting, we reported, Bill and I, that we would be meeting with the county legal department and the CEO, as well as department heads, to talk about our status of our IGAs. And I'm happy to report that the following have been accepted on face. The law office for the county is reviewing them just for signature, but it looks like we're good to go on fire, intergovernmental agreement, water and sewer. We are adding to water and sewer a provision where it's called a utility cut and repair. We found that some of our sister cities have had problems whereby when the county goes in to do a cut and repair on water and sewer, they don't tend to the cut that they made and have left it in an unacceptable condition. So we are providing, or including that proviso that it is the responsibility of the county to, what they cut, they clean, and they repair back to the standards.
Within a certain period of time? Or
Yeah,
just
we're
that they
looking
do
at,
it?
we're looking at that. There was some discussion about that, in the fact that, sometimes they get called off the job, but we want to include a time frame for that. We also have our Public Works Department, we're gonna get them involved in it too, so that we can be sure we can look at a reasonable response. 911 services, of course, those will continue. We do have a termination on that over the next 180 days, because as we look to stand up our own police department, we'll have to then decide if we're gonna be entering into a 911 program or we're gonna join in the county. So for now, we're covered on that function as we are with current police services. Sanitation, continuing that with the county. We did talk about parks. We told them that we were not ready to stand up parks, so they said that they had to go out and leave the meeting to hire lifeguards for the summer. So I think they were hopeful that the city was ready to take them over, but we informed them that we were not. Tax collection will continue as a function of the county. We talked about the to-do list, which includes police services, and then the continuation of whether or not they continue 911 if we start our police department or if we have our own. We looked at an elections agreement. The county attorney's office wanted to go back into that and make that more clear. They found that holding city elections has cost them not only more money, but also some matters of litigation, so they want to talk more with our law office about that particular matter. Stormwater, we talked about stormwater utility and the city's interest in picking that up. For now, we will be working on an IGA whereby they'll do that for a specified period of time. We think that should be a short period of time. I've already been talking with your Public Works Department. I think it would be inherent upon the council to look at that. There's been some changes in revenue collections on the county's part why they've raised the fees, so we need to take a look at that, look at the project list. But what that's going to foster is the need to create a stormwater management plan for the entire city, so we can take a look at not only inventorying what you have, but also create a capital improvement list for what is necessary to do in the future. The county has had some difficulty in providing and staying on task for the project list, because many times they're called off and priorities are reset for them. So we need to have more predictability on your part to what you'll be doing for your citizens. So we're working on that. That will be a short-term IGA, and we'll have to talk more with the council, and hopefully in a work session, to talk about a stormwater utility and what that will include, and also what a scope of a plan would be for a master plan on that matter.
Along those lines, the county is currently upgrading some of the drainage basins in District 2 and 4. They've got a contract with somebody to provide FEMA updates and studies, and wondering if we can somehow grab that information, or at least, I don't know if you participate or to what extent, but I do know that they're a contract. We've seen emails going back and forth, the surveyors are out in the field doing culvert and
Okay, we'll find out about that. And I'll get our Public Works Department involved in that as well, so they can be on
But
top
I
of
mean,
that.
it may just be a small portion, but if it's, that reason, then it'd be
Okay.
a good start if we get some of that from
All
that.
right, definitely follow back on that, thank you. CDBG component, right now we're going to allow the county to continue on that.
What is that?
It's the Community Development Block Grant Program, whereby funds are used for low and moderate income, for renovation of homes. There are some economic development allowances within the CDBG program where you can go in and create economic incentives. You can also do some public works improvements such as roads and sidewalks. So we do want to see what they have planned, what projects are available and being scheduled for Brookhaven, and take a look at that and take a look now at what your proportionate share is. DeKalb County has what's called an entitlement privilege, and they receive pass-through funds from the federal government through HUD, who manages the CDBG program. So now we want to know, not just to say, yes, you can continue on, we want to know what they're continuing and how much that money is that can come to the city In other jurisdictions whereby Fulton County has the same privilege, there is a formula that they use. It's either on per capita or could even be on, depending on what their program is. If it's weatherization or housing rehab or repair, they may base the formula on the numbers of units that need to be repaired. But we need to know what that criteria is so you're getting your fair share of that, those federal dollars coming back to your city.
The other thing, and it's ARC and LCI money, they've been working on for at least 2 years, Peachtree pedestrian and streetscape improvements. It seems to rise and fall periodically. I don't know.
Right, well, and that's because in those kind of projects, you really need a taskmaster, and I'm happy to tell you that your Public Works Department is very familiar with.
Yeah, Don Gerbil needs to
Right.
get involved in that.
Right.
It was his Department of Transportation.
Exactly, but we'll look at that because that, they have DOT project ID numbers, and the way ARC administers those funds, you have to have a development study plan first, then you become eligible for implementation dollars, and their transportation improvement plan is anywhere from a 3 to a 5 year program, and those projects, start moving to the top. Where there's not project readiness, a local government can jump in and take the place if they have project readiness of that community that's not ready to go. So we need to have a better grip on what those projects are and what the status of them are.
There's a list in the LCI study that
Yes.
of those projects, and I've partnered with the cabinet, a couple of grants trying to get some sidewalks
Right.
around here, but that money was spent elsewhere. But as the ARC begins to release that periodically, then we need to be ready.
Right. Well, I'm happy to report that next week we're meeting with the ARC in City Hall with their planning chief and also their planning director to talk specifically about planning programs for that ARC offers, but in particular the LCIs. And then also transportation improvement, because there's more into the transportation improvement plan than just LCI. That's just one component of eligible programs. There's other road improvements and other transportation-oriented projects, such as sidewalks and pathways. So we'll want to get a handle.
How long do you think it would take you to get a list of the block grants?
We have requested the county to do that. We're meeting again next week as part 2 to the follow-up on the IGAs. I'm expecting they'll have that report for us. And I want to share that with the council because not only just for the city, but you need to know what's going on in your respective districts, where those projects are. And also, the county is required through their funding cycle through HUD that they have to have public hearings. We need to be notified of those so that, you in turn can notify your constituents, but we need to know what's happening. And ultimately, when a project is let, your planning department, your public works department, they need to know what's going on in that realm. I don't know specifically how much money is earmarked now for the city of Brookhaven. I can tell you that I know that without knowing a dollar amount, DeKalb County probably receives a lion's share of CDBG funds that is spread out throughout the county. We just need to know what formula they're using to transmit those dollars to the incorporated areas to be sure that you get your fair share. And to take a look at the projects that they have identified to be sure they're in sync with what you want for your city. And there's a whole list, even including senior citizens projects. In the former city, I used CDBG funds because we didn't have the eligibility for the low and moderate income renovations, but we had the eligibility to build a senior center with those funds in one of our parks. So we want to look at the entire scope of eligibility of projects and see how that fits with Brookhaven. So we'll be reporting that back to you all so you'll have that list. A couple more quick things. At our next meeting, we're going to be talking about the streetlight districts, and that's something I'm going to be coming back to visit with you all on as to the funds of that and how that's paid and how that is shared. And I won't go into all the details there because you probably know them better than I, but we'll be coming back to you on that. Traffic calming districts, that's another thing that we need to talk about, and cost per lot that benefits from those traffic tables. And I think that takes care of everything we've talked about. That's part 1, and we'll be back in touch with part 2. But overall, county was very cooperative, and we did get quite a bit done in the 3 hours that we were there. So, police is going to take some time, and a couple of these other districts, stormwater utility, we need to start thinking about that now as to when we want to take that over and start looking at funding a study for that. So we'll be back in touch.
Marie, talk to me about how much does it cost Have they gotten any kind of cost information to us about how much this costs us, the police or any of the other IGAs now?
Well,
Or is this back end, they just bill it and we have to?
no. They'd like to do it that way, if they could. You know, they have their formula, and we've had Chris Pike help us with creating a formula for ourselves. If you'll recall, apparently when
Is it wise to discuss this?
No, we're looking at figures that the county bounced out when there was discussion among the community to start up a city versus what they're assessing you all for. And then also what the real cost is per capita, because it's more than just the patrol officer on the street. You know, they've got SWAT and they have all these specialized units, and they may not be used all the time, but they are available. So we need to look at what those costs are. But that's gonna take some real discussion and definitely between the lawyers before it gets to the elected officials on both sides, county and city.
What do you think is the time frame of the ones that are pretty close to completion in terms of completing them and then having a dollar?
Vivian, the ones that are close to completion that we agreed on its face last week, we're expecting at our meeting next week for the county attorney's office to give us the IGAs for us to sign, and then they'll take them up to their board of commissioners for signature. So we're expecting to receive at least 4 or 5 of them.
Thank you, Marie. Status of contract awards?
I'm happy to say, Mr. Mayor, you signed them. And as a result of that, I will be getting out the task orders to all the council members as you all requested, so you'll have those updated.
I'd like to see a summary of those. I'd like to see where we started, where we ended up.
Oh, okay, certainly.
And from a dollar amount.
Yes.
And also, more importantly, what policy decisions were made that got us from the starting point to the ending point.
Absolutely.
As to what things are postponed, what things are
Yes.
in, what are out.
Yes.
I'm very uncomfortable. I understand we talked about it, we said we were going to negotiate, but at this point, I talked to some of the other council, and we need to understand where we're at with those.
Absolutely.
And not only from a dollar standpoint, but also
The reasoning behind it.
well, and more importantly, the service level that was committed to with any reduction in the
Right.
or in the pricing.
Correct. I'll just say this and save my opportunity to explain at a later date with the backup data for you all. Please remember, when I reported this all to you, I said we did not diminish any levels of service. We were looking at a ramp-up, start-up stage, understanding that the full scope of the proposals that were filed, we would one day reach, probably within the first year or the end of the first year, at full complement. But there were certain services that were not necessary for startup for the first 6 months, so there was no point in incurring that charge. So I'll be happy to go over all of that with you. As a result, the bonus was we delayed full payment. At some point in time, you're going to be picking that up, but you won't be picking up at day one. It may be at the 6-month or the 9-month mark, or it could even be at the 1-year mark.
All right.
But I'll be happy to give you that full explanation.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Marie, again. JD?
I don't know if this first comment should have gone in an announcement, so procedurally, I apologize. I did want to say where the next council meeting would be. We have locked down the facility for the January 22nd meeting, and the reason I have my phone out is to give everybody the exact address. We are moving the next council meeting down to Congregation Orbe Shalom off of Northwood Hills in the southern part of the city. And
Cross Keith.
yeah, they argue catty corner, but roughly. That address is 1681 North Druid Hills Road, northeast, and obviously that is Brookhaven, Georgia. And the communications department has been notified, as well as publicly. We will get all that information out on the website to make sure everyone's notified of that location.
Is this going to be a regular location? Or?
No, so I'll get to that one in a second. We've had a significant amount of meetings in the northern part of the city. Want to make sure we made it convenient for the other citizens. So we're moving that down there. We are currently working to lock down either St. Martin's, or we had a nice surprise today from Oglethorpe University. There's a couple details I have to work out with Oglethorpe in terms of the proposal they sent over, but I've already contacted Oglethorpe and just waiting for a call back to lock down either facility. Whichever facility works out best for us, but I think they're both suitable. So
Geographically, they're pretty much in the center, and size and I think that's probably.
Would it be the auditorium or no?
It would be Lupton Auditorium, or Lupton Hall, I guess is
So
what
that's,
they're referring to as.
that would be key, I think.
Correct.
Right there on Beach Street.
Yeah. So great access, and Councilman Madison emailed me, and we had spoken with actually Oglesville before, and then I got the nice surprise today about working with the city, so.
It's simply an offer from Dr. Shaw, the president of the university, as a good neighbor and community participant that they'd like to help the city of Brookhaven in whatever they can.
So for those of you in the press, please, we don't have that facility locked down, and there's the two, and as soon as we do, I'll notify everybody on those dates, but we are locked in for January 22nd, and Southern
We'll
Minnesota.
have the address for that official,
You will.
let's see, Brookhaven or Atlanta?
Tisa, Brookhaven, Georgia. So those are the updates, and we'll let you know as soon as we lock the St. Martin's or Overport down.
All right, thank you very much. All right. Old business, I don't think there's any old business. Agenda item 1, 2013-01-XX, which is, I guess, 01XX.
No.
We don't have to assign a number
All right,
yet.
all right.
We have some ordinances the last one.
Was that?
Do we have some ordinances at the last one?
Yes, it is.
We did, so we definitely need to get the right.
Donna has a list and.
And for the record, I mean, we gotta be able to, when we're doing the motion, we gotta be able to identify. I guess we can just by reading it out, and we'll say, we can say, file number, we didn't, got later. Okay. Was there gonna be a presentation on this, Paul, or no? Okay, all right. We may have a motion.
Is this? We have this and we have the first read. Are we moving on this one or we
This
just?
is just one read.
One read? Okay.
Let me see if I got the wrong.
No. I'm confused, yeah.
It's the one reading, and then the next item under new business will be your first reading of that ordinance. Remember, you have, because of the new creation, you have up to 90 days to have first read ordinances to allow to bring ordinances on, but we're still following the practice of the first and second reading, so doing it twice.
All right. Okay.
I move that we approve one read ordinance to adopt and approve the sexual oriented business ordinance for the code of ordinances for the city of Brookhaven.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, discussion. Scott, if you briefly, there's one amendment to this.
Yeah.
If you could just explain the effect of that amendment.
Yeah, essentially, council's been very thorough, had multiple meetings, multiple presentations on that, built in a substantial record with case law and data on the secondary effects. Last week, the ordinance was tabled, the update from last week, there's two changes. One of them is the draft that was before you last week had the city clerk as the licensing official. This changes it to the city manager. The second change is there was a provision in the ordinance last week that set the effective date for the alcohol rule, which is currently the law in Brookhaven by virtue of adoption of the DeKalb County ordinances back on December 17th. It set that to January 2, 2014. This version makes a similar change to the hours of operation restriction, that it doesn't go into effect until January 2, 2013. That's essentially the same document. 2014, sorry, I mean 2014. January 2, 2014 for both of those.
Okay. Any more discussion or comment?
This is not really a discussion, but this is the meeting notes of the last time, so we can enter for the records the ordinance numbers, if you'd like. This, a copy of
We
this.
still have sex on.
We still have access though.
But we know which ones we adopted, did pass.
Right.
Would this help?
I don't think it's.
I think we have to have the number that we set.
I think it's when you get ready to adopt it, we'll do the numbers.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, any more discussion or questions? All right, all in favor of adopting agenda item 1, 2013-01 with the number to be later to be signed, please signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Please, Madam Clerk, please enter the minutes of this ordinance be passed. All right. New business. Number 1.
Scouts, I believe, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the same ordinance.
But usually the city attorney reads that section.
All right. Is this
I don't know if
consideration,
that's the way we've been doing it.
consideration and approval of an ordinance to adopt and approve the section 1 business ordinance or code of ordinances for the city of Brookhaven? This is the first read of this ordinance.
Okay,
I believe Mr. Brookholt is again available for any questions regarding that.
okay.
Scott, let me just clarify, even though we've amended the effectiveness date and the hours of operation for a year out, there's nothing in that settlement agreement that prevents the rest of the DeKalb County Code from being enforced. Is that right?
Well, what it is on December 17th, you adopted your own code as the city of Brookhaven's ordinances, and it was essentially the same as the DeKalb ordinance. So that's what's in effect right now, okay? And so that had rules on conduct and regulations that the business agreed to comply with in the settlement agreement, but that's really kind of irrelevant because DeKalb's ordinances became Brookhaven's ordinances on December 17th. So you're right, there's nothing, that settlement agreement only went to the alcohol issue.
So we would, even in the interim year, we would still, once we have a police force, would be responsible for any other enforcement
Right,
of club activities.
That's right.
Until we have a police force, it's the county police force that is obviously
That's right.
in charge.
Right.
Okay.
So I wouldn't anticipate any enforcement by the city of Brookhaven until the police force is up and running.
And I'm just curious, on the hours of operation, it's my understanding that the King County stays open until 4:30 on the weekends?
4.
I think it's
Okay.
3:55 a.m.
Okay, but that's considered a late pour club, is that correct?
If I may respond, all of those establishments predate the late pour license and stay open until 4, as with the DeKalb County, all earlier clubs that predate the license are
So
considered
that's
late
part
pour.
of the grandfathering?
Yes,
Because
yes,
that's
ma'am.
not very clear to me in the settlement agreement.
Well, that's different than the settlement agreement, it's,
But there are other clubs who predated it, who have been grandfathered by virtue of the SLUT. There's no record of that having been permitted for the Pink Pony.
the pre-November, whatever it was, the change of the hours of operation, grandfathered all of the establishments that existed. The sluts are only needed if you were not open before the date of the change of hours. And then you can seek extended hours through a slut.
There are a number of clubs that were open prior to the effective date of the ordinance that then went back and got a slut for late night for. They were grandfathered, but you know,
They still had to
It-
get a slot.
there's no record of the Pink Pony having been grandfathered for DeKalb County records.
Well, let me clarify for purpose of this ordinance.
Mhm.
The hours of operation rule doesn't kick in for any sexually oriented business in the city until January 2014, and that's same for the alcohol prescription. So in a sense, right now, the Brookhaven ordinances, having adopted the CAB as a prescription on alcohol consumption, that would not apply for the next year from tonight
Right,
till January 2014.
I just want to be clear on what we're
That's right.
allowing.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
And late night pour, that means that at 3:55, the alcohol cannot be served. The closing of the club is actually a different time,
Yeah.
is it not?
Yes.
Is there, do you know what the actual closing time is?
Mike,
We get last call at 3:30, everybody out by 4.
All right. Any other questions or comments?
I do have one question about this. Am I correct in my assumption that this old business ordinance and the new business ordinance are the identical ordinance?
Yes, to my knowledge, they're identical, same.
Correct.
There was an amendment to the,
Right,
and they're
the
both-
amended.
Yeah.
Another member of our package, this has been right.
Okay.
At least that's what I understand, go through.
Yes, sir, yeah. All right. Any other discussion or questions? All right, all in favor of adopting,
Mr. Mayor,
yes.
first read this requirement.
Okay. All in favor of not requiring first read adoption? That was all I was about to say. Okay. Number 2. Moving on. Yeah. Number 2.
Second item under new business is consideration approval of a resolution to adopt and approve the schedule of business occupation taxes.
Okay. David,
Yes.
do you have any comments or anything on that?
So we need to,
You don't need to adopt that? Have you not done that yet?
to approve.
We're going to
These
ask
are-
for a first reading, they'll come back for a second reading, that's what it'll take.
Okay.
These, the fees are identical to the current DeKalb County
They are.
fees.
They are.
And I do have one comment. I'd like for us to explore, I'm not sure that we need to explore it now, but I'd like recommendations from the planning department, from the city administration about ways that we can improve that, to make our city more attractive from a business standpoint. It also benefits us from a revenue standpoint.
And basically, the thought or premise behind it is to leave everything the same until we see how the revenue flows in, how we're able to use the revenue for the current obligations that the council has put into place for the first year, and then just to be able to revisit it after a year.
Well, I think that that's appropriate, but I'd also like to encourage us to be proactive in getting and soliciting advice and recommendations from the business community, so that there are things that we don't know about, they can let us know.
That's a good committee. I've always thought I want to have a community to see how our business affects businesses and to have input from that community as well, so. All businesses.
We could probably utilize the Chamber of Commerce in this,
Right, we could.
very effectively.
I noticed on this fee schedule, the flat fee for professional services wasn't included.
No, it's not. Basically, with the professional services, they have an option. They can either go with the flat fee of $400, which is a state mandated.
Right, where is that?
It's not in the resolution.
There it is.
Is it?
Yes, now, okay, great. All right, got you.
There you go, it is there, section 2.
That is great. Yes. Thank you.
I just have one question. Have you had a chance to look how these rates compare to our surrounding municipalities?
I have not.
Okay, so we could maybe do that moving forward.
You know, I remember Chris Pikeman's comment about that in an early discussion, so I think Chris could probably get that info.
And he actually said that if I needed to get something to him while we're in the meeting, I could text him, he would text me right back. So if it's an immediate question, I can definitely find out
I
right
think
now.
it's more than a text.
Yeah, so, but you know, I did offer that in case that was something that we needed to know immediately.
What I remember is in comparison to Fulton, we are dramatically lower, just our, in fact, the cap is dramatically lower than Fulton to start with. So
That is true.
by adopting those, we're starting out at the low end.
And I know that we're not higher than Woody.
No, the wood is more expensive.
Okay. All right. And Preston like that, you know.
But those are all things that can be studied in this group as we go forward to really make sure we're one, both business friendly, but also economically sound.
Absolutely. So let's, Woody, and try to get a little more.
Yes, I've got that written down.
Get the whip on me, but we can get some more stuff one. All right? Anything else? All right. The last thing? Any other business? No? Any more public comments? Going once, twice? All right, no more public comments? I have no comments either. We don't need executive session. And I entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I move to adjourn this city council meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of adjournment, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Before we start, do you have